Hi and welcome to WarHQ. My name is Lucius. In today's episode, what we'll be doing is getting back in to Kill Team, the new Octarius release. Now you might be thinking, geez, for a Kill Team channel, like primarily, you guys have been fairly quiet, and there's a good reason for that. And the reason is I've been building a home for my family for the last couple of months, and we're living up on the farm right now. So as you can see here, my little temporary humble studio is actually a camper van. So it's a little bit different. Internet connection isn't great here. I'm still waiting to get Starlink, the Elon Musk one. It's the best rural option. It should be pretty quick because internet in general is pretty bad in Australia, but particularly bad out here in the sticks. So what we're going to go through today is I just wanted to I haven't really had time to really look at a lot of the other Kill Team content and creations and stuff. I've had the books for a while now. I've been reading them. I've been studying them. Had a few test games and stuff like that. So what I wanted to do today was just to kick it off for my Kill Team content, because there'll be a lot more coming out, is just go through 3 Kill Teams that I own that I'm most excited for. Like, after having read through the rules, after having played a few things with them, which teams do I think, or can I see that I'll enjoy using? And this is a very different game. Like, as you guys know, this is a very different game. You're all aware of that by now. I know I'm very behind, and I do apologize for that. But Kill Team content will be coming out from now. And you know me, I love my strategy breakdowns, I love my list builds, all of these things. And if you're still into the original Kill Team, then look back through my old catalogue, because I have heaps of it on every faction, and competitive sort of information about that as well, if you're still going that route. And you know, I think from time to time we probably still will as well. But for now, if you'd like to subscribe to this channel, we'd greatly appreciate it. Takes you only a second to do, means heaps to us here at WarHQ. But for now, let's get started. Now, the first team that I'm super pumped on, after having read through the compendium and the rules and just looking at what strategic options it has available, is the Heretics Astartes. I think it's always been one of my favourite teams, and wasn't the strongest team in the last rendition of Kill Team, but it was still, you know, reasonable. It was like a solid, like upper B tier kind of team in the last Kill Team. But I think in this one, at the moment, you know, while we still got just the basic units for everything, I think it's quite strong. I think it's a lot stronger than the Marine options that are quite linear. You can only choose, like, you know, one of each of the things, squads. But with this one, it's kind of very similar to what it was in the other, like where I can take 2 fire teams of 3 Marines, and I can still get all those heavy weapon options and stuff that I wanted. So to me, that makes it really strong. And the iteration, I can pretty much run every version of this team. I've got enough Marines to do like a double Marine team, like a Heretic Astartes team, or I've got Cultists as well, so I can run it however I want. But to me, the build that's standing out is the 6 Marine build. So basically, you know, I'm looking at stuff like Leader, I think with a Power Fist and Plasma. It's one of those things with this sort of edition, I think there's genuine best choices to make. I mean, why would you take a bolt pistol when you can take a plasma pistol? You know what I mean? Like, I think this edition has narrative in mind as well, and obviously wants to cover all the weapons that your models would already have. But for me, I think making things the best is the best, because, you know, there's no points in this edition, so you may as well take the best of everything and just pray. So I think the plasma pistol and power fist option is quite good. I mean, alternative to that, I would probably consider the power weapon option as well. It's quite good, but I still think the power fist is probably better. Power weapon, you know, if you want to hit on a 2+, I guess. So my leader would have that at the moment. Now, I'm not trying to give you like a list build here. I'm just sort of spitballing what I think would work with this team. And then I sort of played around, and I quite like the melter gun option in this one for the gunner. I think the melter gun is particularly strong in this one. It was kind of a one-shot wonder in the last edition, but in this one, it's super brutal, actually, like really brutal. You know, being able to do 4 mortal wounds with an AP of 2. The way that I designed this force, and if you've seen my force breakdowns for the last one, I quite like the close combat chainsword kind of Marine feel. So I'm kind of going for that with this one. So that's why I've got the melter gun, because it's a good close combat support weapon. It does, you know, epic tons of damage. So that's sort of where I'm feeling with this one. And with the heavy gunner option, I'd probably go the missile launcher. I quite like the missile launcher in this one too. It's looking pretty good. Not that the heavy bolt is bad. I think it's quite doable, actually, the heavy bolter. But missile launcher, just with those options between the frag and crack and being able to like blast or AP someone is, I think having those two options just makes it a little bit stronger, in my opinion. But yet to be proven. I could be proven wrong. So that would round out the first three operatives, and then basically from there, I think where I'd be going is the icon bearer. Pretty hard to pass back the icon bearer. Has really good, it's inspired by vengeance, basically. So if you retain any critical hits, you can select one of your failed hits to retain a success as normal. So everyone's got to be within blue square to get that bonus. And this operative would be armed with a chainsword and bolt pistol. So that would make it, one of the boys, basically. And the other two guys that go with this team, I would have as regular Heretic Astartes Marines with chainsword and bolt pistol. So that gives you three guys with chainsaw bolt pistol, and one of those with the banner is going to be with them. And the leader and the melter gun all up sort of in that sort of place where he's going to be able to give them those bonuses for retaining extra hits. So I think that's kind of what I'm looking at with my actual list, without actually like saying this is a roster. Obviously I've got 20 figures, I can do whatever I want with a roster, but just as I said before, just spitballing the first things that come to mind that I think would be strong. I think something that makes the Heretic Astartes really strong too is their strategic ploys. I think their strategic ploys are exceptional, and this is why I think they're better than the Marines, because they get the same two things where they've got the malicious volleys and the hateful assault. So basically one's a close combat, one's a distance shooting one, and if you don't do one or the other, then you get two of it. So like if you don't do close combat with this particular ploy, then you get two shooting, or vice versa. So those are super strong. So if you think about all these guys being like majority of close combat, but I could go either way. Like I could go the shooting, probably in turn one you'd use the shooting one, get your guys up there and then use your bolt pistols, use your your missile launcher and your melter, and then be able to shoot twice. So that's crazy because these guys have 3 APL, as you know, so they're on par with Marines. I can't see anything in the actual vanilla Marine list that can really compete with this at the moment. Obviously, I really think the Marines are probably the first things they're going to bring out. Let the Galaxy Burn is also pretty good too. So, you can retain one of your attack dice results of a 5+ that's a successful hit as a critical hit, which is really strong as well. So, and that's for the whole team. So I really like with this edition the strategic ploys and the tactical ploys and how they've broken them up. I think it's a really intelligent way to do it. Tactical ploys themselves, not too bad. Like there's a couple there, and I won't go through them. But just to say that that's pretty cool. Mainly the strategic ploys I'm really digging at the moment, and I kind of think with this one, the equipment as well is a new feature with this, and the equipment for these guys I'm really thinking about. Well, suspensor system for a start, like for your heavy weapons, so your missile launcher. So it means you can still move up to 3 circle. Before you perform a shooting action instead of not being able to with the heavy rule. So that's very strong. That's almost an auto include if you're taking heavy weapons, I think. And I've got one of those. I'd probably put that on my missile launcher in this particular build that I'm thinking of. Now, Sacrificial Offering is a really interesting one. I quite like it. So basically when you incapacitate an enemy operative in combat, the operative with this Sacrificial Dagger gets to basically heal 4 lost wounds, which is really cool. I'd probably put something like this on my leader, I think, because you go in there with your power fist, your chances of waxing someone in close combat are pretty good. Like you're going to win more than you lose probably, but you're probably going to get wounded. So this is a good way. You kill that guy in combat and then you get those 4 wounds back. So it could be the difference between winning and losing, or dying from the next guy that charges you. So I think that is really good. Sacrificial Dagger it is, sorry. And another one I really like the look of at the moment is the Grizzly Trophy. So while this operative is visible to and within square of an enemy operative, subtract 1 from the attack's characteristics of ranged and melee weapons that operative is equipped with. Pretty strong. And I think what I thought with this one is that I would put it on my Icon Bearer. So the Icon Bearer is already giving bonuses at the square, and I think just giving him this, anything that's trying to take him out, because he is quite an important unit, is going to have to get -1 to their attack, so it'll be harder. So that's my take on the Heretic Astartes. I think they're really strong. I'm super looking forward. I've got all the models painted for these already. So it's one team that I can just fall straight into with this edition. All right, second team that I'm looking forward to, that I currently own already, is the Hive Fleet kill team. So the Tyranids. I think they're going to be a powerhouse in this edition. I've been looking through, and it's just like mind-blowing. I'm like, wow, look at the options you can have. I mean, with the three different fire teams you can have, being Gene Stealer, Tyranid Swarm, or Tyranid Warrior, I think all three of those options are quite strong. The two, I could pretty much run most of this. I've got enough Gaunts, Gants, Gene Stealers, and Warriors to do pretty much nearly every combination of this team, or doubles, except for the 2 Warrior build. I've only got 3 Warriors at the moment, so I'd have to get another box of Warriors to be able to do a 2 Warrior build. But what I'm seeing as strong is, at the moment, is the Tyranid Warriors with the Gene Stealers, so like one of each fire team. And I've made like with the last list thing I just showed you, I've made a speculative list kind of thing that I think will be really strong. And it's 3 Warrior, 3 Stealer build. So the first Warrior is a leader, Death Spitter, Bone Sword, Whip. That's because that's what my model's armed with. I think they're pretty strong options, as they've always have been. You have a Warrior Gunner with a Venom Cannon, and whatever you want, like, Bone Swords or Rending Claws, whatever you need. And then a Warrior with a Death Spitter and Bone Swords, which is the other model that I have. These are already preset for mine, so that's why I've got them listed as that. The Warriors, man, in this are so strong. Like 18 wounds is just off the scale brutal, hey. And like just the stats in general and what they can do is really good. So I think Warriors are going to be a bit of a mainstay, especially with the Synapse rules, in place as well, where anyone that's a Synapse operative within range doesn't get impaired from being injured and stuff like that, which is so strong, hey, like really good. And I think it's going to be used quite a lot. That's why I think you're going to see a lot of lists with Warriors in them. And the Gene Stealer side of this, now Gene Stealer's a pretty straightforward cookie cutter, but oh my god, these things are brutal for what you're getting. I mean, you can have 5 Gene Stealers, because you've already got your 3 Warriors, right? And then you've got 5 Gene Stealers. You couldn't build this list in the last edition. Not for 100 points anyway. But they've still got their invulnerability save. They get a free dash action during their activation, and they also get a single hidden horror where they're always concealed regardless of what effects are on them, which is really cool. Like say they're standing on a vantage point or something, they're still classed as concealed. So it's going to make them quite harder to hit when they've got those concealed orders. What's standing out to me is the double Rending Claws. Not only does it have Rending, it has Relentless, so it can pretty much reroll every dice if it wants to in combat, which I think is just wow. Okay, it's got 5 attacks, 3 ups to hit, 4/5 damage, so that is insane for a fairly cheap model, really. Like when you think about it, you got 5 of these, so that's strong as, hey. And Relentless is such a nasty ability. Which makes me think like this team, like I'm not going to go through all the stats for you here. I'm just spitballing what I think's best that I want to play. I just think it's going to be really, really strong. And imagine taking 10 Gene Stealers. I mean, even that. I know they're quite brittle, but they still do have 9 wounds, which is more than most. And with all these little concealment things, they'll be hard. They'll be able to strike when they need to, As you'd expect, some of the strategic ploys in here really center around being sneaky. So you can stalk, you can lurk, and then you can also feed, which is cool as well. So you can inflict additional damage with that feed as strategic ploys, and this is for the whole team when you use it each turn. So one of these. So conceal with the stalk, with a conceal order, you can pretty much perform a free move action, which is cool. Lurk is another cool one. As I said, I won't go through them all. The tactical ploys are pretty cool as well, and I think you're going to see a lot of this in operation, because there's some that give you additional APL, which is super cool. Like especially with your Warriors, imagine being able to shoot, move, shoot, charge, fight, and stuff like that would be super strong. And the equipment in particular, I like what they've done here, where the options that you could pay for in the past are now equipment. And the good thing about this, and I don't know if anyone else has noticed this too, is you can upgrade your Gene Stealers. So like each of the things you could upgrade your Gene Stealers with is 2 points, and you've got 10 to spend. So you can literally give all of your Gene Stealers an upgrade, and that's it. Just thinking about this team, that's what I would probably do. So, for example, like say you wanted them to be a bit harder to kill, then you'd give them the extended Chitin, so which basically, in the roll defense dice step of the shooting phase, you can roll one of your re-roll one of your defense dice, which is really handy. Say you want them to be harder to kill, bang, choose that one, give them all that if you want. Feeder tendrils. So each time this operative incapacitates an enemy operative in combat, it regains D3 lost wounds. Pretty strong. Toxin sacks. This one stands out to me. I really like this one. If you're going to go just a full brutal assault sort of team with them. So each time this operative fights in combat, in the roll attack dice step of the combat, if you retain any critical hits, you can retain one of your failed hits as a successful normal hit. So that's really strong too. Since they're going to be re-rolling everything anyway, even if you did manage to roll a 1, you can retain it anyway. So wow. And then you've got the adrenal glands as well, which is add triangle to the operative's movement characteristics, which is good too, so you want to get in there quicker. And then obviously flesh hooks and acid maw, 2 ranged weapon attacks if you want to give them that as well. So I think this equipment, all being 2 points, except for the extended Chitin, which is 3 points if you've got a warrior, you would put all of this, in my eyes, I'd put all of this onto the Gene Stealers, and I would, depending on who I'm fighting, I would change what I gave them, which is really strong too. So, if I think I'm coming up against a strong shooting team, I might give them the extra defense roll so they don't get shot to hell before I get there. If I'm coming across a pretty good close combat team, I might consider giving them the feeder tendril so I can regain some lost wounds, or the toxin sac so I can do more damage. So, it's really, this team's going to be strong. Look out for it, I reckon. I think it's going to be right up there. All right, third team I'm pumped about that I already own is going to be the Cormorite kill team, so the Drukhari. I think these look really strong. I think they look probably a little bit stronger than the Craftworld. The Craftworld look pretty good still. I've got some ideas with them, but I think these ones have more punch, hey? I think they can do a bit more damage and be a bit more effective. And I like their strategic ploys as well. So what I'm looking at the moment is, I can build any of these combinations of kill teams. So I could have doubles of the cabs or the witches, or I could go one of each. And I think, like, looking at this on the surface, I think one of each is the way to go at the moment. It's quite simple. It's like the last edition of Kill Team, where when the basic came out, the core rulebook, you could only pick Cabalites and witches. It's pretty much the same thing now. Before we get racks and stuff, this is going to be the build, I reckon. The way I was thinking of building it was a Cabalite gunner with a blaster. The blaster is just sensational. I like it. Really cool. I'd have a heavy gunner with like a splinter cannon, because the splinter cannon can be upgraded really well. There's something coming up later. If you were to take the other option for that, which is the Dark Lance, now it's unwieldy, which means it costs 2 APL to use, but there is a thing with the in the equipment with the Cabalite banner. If you had a Cabalite banner near this guy, he would get +1 to his APL. So that is another thing there. If you did want to take that Dark Lance, if you have the banner and you have him near the gunner, then you're going to get enough APL to be able to shoot that Dark Lance. Otherwise, without that, I think the Splinter Cannon's a better option, and there's lots of upgrades you can give it. So that's just my opinion. Then I'd have 3 normal Cabalites. And then for the Witch section, I'd have Hecatrix with an Agonizer Blast Pistol. Again, it's those things. Why would you take a Splinter Pistol if you can take a Blast Pistol? Why would you take those normal swords if you can take blades if you can take a Agonizer, which is better? So anyway, that's that. And then I'd have a fighter, or 2 fighters, and choice here is really yours. They're all pretty good, really. Like, there's none that I really hate over the other ones. So choice is up to you with those, I think, with the fighters. And then you'd have 2 normal witches. So there's a really solid kill team of 10 operatives there, and 10 really good ones too. Like, you've got really good close combat. You've got some serious backup shooting there. And it's a half a team. So you've got half close combat, half shooting. So I think that is really strong. And when you have a look at some of the other stuff that they can do, they have really, really good strategic ploys and tactical ploys, I think. One of my favorites is for the witches is the Agile Gladiators. So pretty much Until the end of the turning point, each time a friendly witch operative fights in combat, in the resolve successful hit step of that combat, each time your opponent strikes with a normal hit, you can roll a d6. On a 4+, treat that strike as a parry instead. Ouch. That is really strong, hey? And then there's some really good ones for shooting and fighting as well, which I won't go through. You know, you guys have a look at that. The power for pay and tactical ploy is pretty good. And then the no escape as well, but I won't go through them individually. But really, really strong. And another thing I'd say here, I sort of was thinking about what kind of equipment that you could use here. And, you know, they have the drugs broken up down in here that you can use. And then they have some other really cool stuff too. So a couple that I'd just chosen out, which I thought would be really strong. First one's the Haywire grenade. I think this is pretty nasty. The Haywire special ability in particular. Like, it's a good grenade. It's got a blast effect. But each time a friendly operative makes a shooting attack with this weapon, if the target has a save characteristic of 3 or better, so Marine equivalent, this weapon has a lethal 4+ special rule for that shooting attack. Ouch. That's really good. Really, really good. Really makes it easy to do criticals and do heaps of damage on them. So I quite like that one. And there's the Hypex. So Witch Operative, add triangle to the operative's movement. Obviously, no-brainer. Like, probably for your Hecatrix or something, or one of your fighters, you could use something like that. I really like the Agonite as well. So this is for Cabalite operatives. Select one Splinter Cannon, yes, which is where I'd put it. That weapon gains the Relentless special ability. I mean, come on. Why wouldn't you take that, hey? Like, re-roll all your dice? Okay. And look, there's a lot of other good ones as well, but I really think in this one, I'm really pumped for the Drukhari as well. And I think it can really work. So there you have just 3 teams that I chose after reading this for ages and ages and ages and wanting to get into it during this period that I've been building. It's like, these 3 I'm super pumped for. Like, there's other teams too. There's honourable mentions there, like Chaos Demons have changed a little bit. They've always been one of my favourite teams. Bit weird, they don't get any psychic powers with the pinks. That's strange, and now you have to pay for splitting, which kind of sucks as well. But they are quite strong, and that's one I'll be looking at. And Tau is another good one. I think they can be quite competitive in this edition as well. But you know, you guys know me, I probably own at least 10 to 12 teams. I can't even remember anymore, but some of those teams have been affected by the new rules where they're more squad based now, so that's why I didn't include them in this list. It was really just 3 teams that I can just field right now that I feel super confident in performing fairly well. And I hope you guys like this. Please tell me what you think. What would be your 3 teams? What ones are you excited to use that you could just field right now, and you think that it'd be reasonably competitive? You agree with my list? You don't? Yeah, let us know down below. But please like, comment, subscribe, all of those things. If you want to be part of an elite few, then please consider our Patreon. Links down below. But for now, my name is Lucius. You're you, and thanks very much for your time.